the prime driver, motivator for modern slavery and human trafficking offences is greed, financial gain. I think every sector really, bar white collar, is at work in that sense. So it's anything that is manual or menially driven, anything that is labour intensive, cleaning, fruit and veg picking, meat processing, food processing, car washes, nail bars. Those are the ones that really spring to my mind. Rubbish sorting, anything in the recycling sector, really anything that is heavy labour intensive, where there tends to be lower end wages. For example, in Operation Fort, in my opinion, lax banking practices enabled the perpetrators to open hundreds of bank accounts using false documents, as in documents that had been fraudulently created, or documents that were forged, as in original copies that had been altered, in order to open bank accounts. And my experience of this was that the banks, and it was a number of banks, failed to do proper due diligence. They allowed people to open bank accounts with the same man turning up as an interpreter on each and every occasion. Interestingly, one of the things that was a compelling point of evidence in the case was that it was recorded by one bank who the person was acting as interpreter to open the bank account. That was a seminal piece of evidence in identifying the organised crime group, because it was a senior member of the OCG, and led to really Operation Fort progressing as significantly as it did. Bank accounts are used in so many ways, and I think to perpetrate the greed and the effectiveness of the organisation. If you don't own and control your bank account, anything can be happening on it. It can be used to claim benefits. It can be used to launder money for someone else. It can be used to claim fraudulent bank loans. It can be used to claim insurance fraudulently. It can be sold on to someone else for nefarious purposes. The list is effectively endless, because your bank account is part, certainly when you're an adult and in employment, or even if you're not in employment, your bank account is part of your identity. It's part of your structure of existence in the UK in particular. And if someone else controls that, they control a very significant part of your life. And my view is that financial institutions need to have a more robust view of their responsibilities. If I told you that in one case alone, we were looking at in excess of £10 million of fraudulent activity, that's not just a drop in the ocean. That's not just one victim. That is financial institutions not taking responsibility and allowing their institutions to perpetuate and activate the crime. I think there's also a burying one's head in the sand moment. If you're in a situation where someone's bank account is being fraudulently used in your financial institution, there is a very real risk, as there was in this case, that money laundering was taking place. And by that financial institution's lax attitude, it could be argued that they were negligent, certainly, or tacitly supporting by failing to have a proper structure in place. The flip side is, as I said, because of one sensible member of the bank staff, we had the key piece of evidence that led to the uncovering. We also have another banking institution that just had protocols and policies in place that prevented this OCG using them. And we had 3 banks that were used all the time, but one, despite the fact that it had a branch on the same high street in West Bromwich, that the OCG never used because they could never get past the first layer of opening the bank account in the first place. It's not expensive to set these policies up. It's a process that should be being done. And actually, if you fail to adhere to it, you're exposing yourself to the risks that we have seen to manifest themselves in Fort.